Are you tired of having no plans after work and on weekends? You see everybody else having fun and you're just at home by yourself. That's why today, I'll give you a proven plan to get ahead of 99% of people socially and have more meaningful relationships. After coaching over 100 introverts become more social, I'll show you exactly what works. Now, this first point we're going to talk about is absolutely crucial. In fact, if you don't implement this, then you'll often feel left out. For this to make sense, let's pretend you're hungry. So you open the fridge and notice that you have no food. But instead of ordering something in or going to the grocery store, you do nothing. And then an hour passes by. You open the fridge again and you wonder why there's still nothing to eat. You see, that's exactly how most people treat their social life. They want to go out, make more connections, and create memorable experiences. But they do nothing about it. They sit around at home waiting for their phone to ring, but unfortunately, it never does. So what do you do instead? Let's take one of my clients as an example. He's a software engineer and has an introverted personality. Sure, he enjoys his own company, but because he's been isolated for so long, he's starting to feel depressed. When we started working together, he said that he's just so tired of not having anyone to spend time with. And that's when I told him that he can't be so passive. If he wants an active social life, he has to be the one to make it happen. At first, he was hesitant. He just doesn't want to feel like he's bothering people. So I asked him if someone messaged him right now to do something, how would that make him feel? He said he'd be ecstatic. And at that moment, I think he understood my point. That's when he made it a habit to just message one person per day on a regular basis. He made some small talk, and if they seem receptive, he asked them to hang out. And then, a few times a month, I told him to organize a simple get-together and invite people out. It could be brunch, happy hour drinks, or just a picnic at the park. And because he took massive action, he's now at a point where he's hosting well-attended get-togethers. You see, if you want to succeed socially, you need to get rid of this belief that you're annoying people or they're avoiding you. Just like you, everyone gets busy and distracted as well. That's why you have to put in the effort and take the initiative. And when you do, you'll feel more empowered because you're taking charge of your social life. To help you out, I made a free cheat sheet that will show you how to approach and talk to anybody. Get your free copy in the description below. But if you don't internalize this next point, you'll always feel discouraged. In fact, you'll hold yourself back from even trying. For me to explain this to you, let me ask you a question. Have you ever said hi to someone that you know and it seemed like they're ignoring you? Immediately, your brain starts spiraling, right? And now, you're wondering if they're mad at you or if you did something wrong. But then, you realize that they had their AirPods in and it was on noise canceling mode. Speaking from experience, I've ignored so many people accidentally because of that. That's why you can't take things personally. But how do you actually do that? For me to answer that question, let me tell you a quick story. So a while back, I hosted a social event. I had some new people coming, and that's why it was such a big deal for me. So I picked a nice place, made the reservation, and put in solid effort. I reminded everyone who was coming, and one of my good buddies said that he'd be there. But on the day of the event, he was nowhere to be found. No text, no call, no social media message. I'm not going to lie, at first, I felt pretty disappointed. I just thought we were closer than that. And then, a few days later, I finally heard from him. As it turns out, he got into a bike accident on his way to my event. Nothing too serious, but bad enough to land the other person at the hospital, so he had to deal with that. And man, I felt awful. Not just because of what happened to him, but because I spent days making it about me, when in reality, it had nothing to do with me at all. You see, that moment changed something for me. Now, when someone ghosts, flakes, or seems off, I just pause. And then I quickly remind myself that I just have no idea what they're going through. People deal with stuff that we can't really see, you know? And that one mental shift has saved me from so much stress. When you stop making things about you, you feel lighter. You get out of your head, and you also stop resenting people. By the way, if you want to learn how to build meaningful relationships, I'd love to connect with you. Book your free consultation by clicking the link below. But if you don't implement this next point, that's going to be an issue. In fact, it's a common mistake that I've seen a lot of people commit. And if you don't catch it early on, it can lead to loneliness, neediness, and even one-sided friendships. For this to make sense, I want you to think about a table. If it only has one or two legs holding it up, you can knock it over very easily. But the more legs that you add, the more stable it becomes. You see, that's the mindset that I want you to have with your relationships as well. You don't want to build your whole social life on just one or two people. Why? Because things happen. People move, start dating someone, or sometimes you just grow apart. And if you don't keep making new connections, you start clinging to the few that you have, which makes you seem desperate. In fact, one of my clients actually learned this the hard way. So he just moved to a new city for a tech job. He didn't really know anyone, but luckily, he made a solid friend at work within the first week. They started hanging out regularly, and he was stoked. But then, that friend got promoted. He started working longer hours, which made him less available. And just like that, he was back at square one. That's when I reminded him that he needs to keep socializing. Every week, just go to an event where his kind of people hang out. And the goal wasn't even to find a new close friend, but just to stay in motion socially. And within a month, he had met 5 new people. A couple stuck, and a few didn't. And that's okay, because now he has options. And if he keeps doing this, he's never going to be desperate socially. Again, that's why you can't just isolate yourself. You have to keep putting yourself out there, even though you don't feel like you need to. By doing so, you'll always have a steady flow of people coming in, and you'll always have someone to make plans with. But without this next point, your relationships won't feel as satisfying. In fact, you'll just have shallow interactions, and you won't feel as close to anyone. For me to explain this to you, let's pretend you're a realtor and you're trying to sell a house. But every time a potential buyer comes to see the property, you won't let them see what's on the inside. You just tell them that it's great, and they should just take your word for it. Now, the house might look fine on the outside, but nobody's going to fall in love with it, let alone buy it, unless they see the interior. You see, that's what it's like when you hide the real you behind surface level conversations. You'll have a hard time connecting with others because they can't really see who you are. But here's the thing. Being vulnerable doesn't mean talking about all your problems. It's not about trauma dumping or turning every chat into a therapy session. It's about letting people in while still keeping the energy positive and grounded. But how do you actually do that? To answer that question, let me tell you a quick story. Back when I first started improving my social skills, I was still pretty guarded. I'd show up to events and try to put up a front because I wanted to appear more chill. But then, I kept noticing the same thing. Even though I was having nice conversations, I could tell people weren't really bonding with me. So one night, I was at this small dinner with some new friends. And then, a few people started opening up and talking about personal things. And for the first time, I felt inspired to share my own struggles. As an immigrant, I talked about how terrifying it was to start a new life in Canada. There's been so many times that I felt lonely, judged, and out of place. That's actually what pushed me to work on myself because I didn't want to feel stuck anymore. Now look, I didn't tell that story to get some sympathy. I shared it because it was real. And then something shifted. People leaned in and they nodded. And then one guy opened up right after me because he felt like it was safe to do so. That's when I learned the power of being vulnerable, but doing it in a way without oversharing. So the next time you're with your friends, share one small thing that's slightly uncomfortable for you. Not a complaint, and definitely not a rant. Just something that you've been going through lately that you're taking responsibility for. Because the truth is, connection doesn't happen when you're perfect. It happens when you're honest without playing the victim. But without this next point, you'll still get ignored by others. Like, no matter what you say, people just brush you off. And if that keeps happening, you'll have a hard time creating quality connections. For me to explain this to you, imagine you're shopping for some new shoes. You walk down the mall and you notice 2 shops. One is clean, the items are organized, and the lighting is good. But the other one, it has a cracked window, the signs are crooked, and everything is all over the place. Now, both shops can have great shoes inside, but which one are you more likely to walk into? Well, if you're anything like me, you'd go with the first one, right? You see, that's how it works when you socialize with others. When people see you, they're looking at the way you dress and the way you carry yourself. Now, this is not about being fake or pretending to be someone that you're not. It's about showing others that you take yourself seriously. Because if you don't, then nobody else will. So, how do you actually implement this? This actually reminds me of a client that I've worked with in the past. He's a civil engineer, and he's struggling to make connections. When we started working together, he told me that not many people take him seriously. As a result, he has a hard time making friends and getting dates as well. And for obvious reasons. At first glance, he just looks really sloppy. His hair is messy and his clothes are extremely outdated. That's when I asked him what he wanted people to think when they see him for the first time. He gave it some thought and said that he wants to come across as cool, interesting, and attractive. And then when he looked in the mirror, that's when he realized that something needed to change. So I made him go to the mall to pick up some well-fitting clothes. I also recommended that he gets a proper haircut. And with only those small changes, he looks like a totally different person. Not only did he feel more confident, he started getting treated better as well. As you can see, when you improve your appearance, you'll have an easier time attracting your kind of people in your life. But there's something very important that we didn't talk about today. If you want to connect with more people, you have to be able to hold a conversation. If not, then you'll just have awkward lulls and you'll make others feel uncomfortable. To make sure that doesn't happen to you, watch this next video. That's where I give you more actionable tips to never run out of things to say. By the end of it, you'll become a lot more talkative, so make sure you check it out.